G'day guys. The first thing you should do when you get your R36S is work out exactly what variant you have, so you know if you have an original, a good clone with a full 1GB of RAM, a bad clone with only half the RAM, or a fake that isn't even an R36S at all, and just made to look like one. Once identified, you should then do a fresh install of a compatible OS onto a fresh high quality SD card, as the SD cards included in these are always junk and will fail in no time, causing you all kinds of issues. Before you can do a fresh install though, you do need to know exactly what R36S variant you have, what operating systems it's compatible with, and finally what DTBs to use. If you skip this step, you will end up having to blindly try all possible OS and DTB combinations until you find something that mostly works, which can take quite a while. Unfortunately, more and more R36S variants are being discovered all the time, which makes identifying your device even more important. Gone are the days where you could just write Aeolus UX's ArcOS, try a few DTBs, and be up and running in no time. It's also worth mentioning before we get started that just because yours says it's running ArcOS 2.0 in the main start menu, it doesn't actually mean it is. It's extremely easy to fake that, and you should not rely on that alone as a sign it's a standard non-clone device. So to get started, there's basically three main categories your device will fall into. There's the standard non-clones, which generally use panels 0 to 4, and can run just about any OS designed for the R36S, including Android and full desktop Ambient. Next, there's the good clones, which unfortunately are going to be the majority of the devices out there. Support for these is getting better all the time, and a lot of these can now run ArcOS for clones, which is essentially the same version of ArcOS for non-clones, as well as DarkOS and DarkOS RE to name a few. Performance with these good clones is pretty good these days, and basically the same as an original non-clone. The main thing to look out for with these is the total amount of onboard RAM, as some only ship with around 400 meg instead of the usual 1GB, and these are usually referred to as bad clones these days. Finally, there's the fakes, which shouldn't really be called R36S clones since they have entirely different internals and hardware, and only visually resemble an R36S due to using the same shell. There's a few different types of these fakes out there, with varying performance, but they are all worse than an actual R36S, and there's generally no custom operating system for any of them. What they come with is what you are stuck with. I will put a link to the awesome R36S Wiki, which has more details on some of these bad clones if you think you might have one of them yourself. There's also a relatively recent variant known as soy sauce, which sits somewhere between good clones and non-clones. While they can mostly all run the standard non-clone build of ArcOS, as well as DarkOS and DarkOS RE, they can't run Android or Ambient. If you were wondering why they are called soy sauce clones, it's because if you added a soy sauce packet when ordering on a specific website back in the day, it would drastically reduce the total price. So we'll start off today by seeing if your device has internal flash, which will tell you straight away if it's a clone or not. Not all clones have internal flash though, so this test alone isn't enough to know for certain if you have a clone, a fake, or an original. All you have to do for this test is to take the SD card out and power it on. So I've got three different R36Ss in front of me, but they are all different. I'll remove the SD cards from all three. It is important you remove the SD cards from both slots if your device does have two slots. With the SD cards removed, we'll power all three of them on. So as you can see here, all three are different when powered on without an SD card inserted. The one on the very left has nothing on the screen at all. This usually means that there's no internal flash, which is a good sign. It could also mean it has internal flash but it's failed, which is possible but unlikely. As mentioned earlier, not all clones have internal flash though, so you aren't out of the woods just yet. Also, the power light is on mine, but some variants won't light up without an SD card inserted. The one in the middle has booted to an error screen mentioning it can't find any systems. This one clearly has internal flash, and if yours has the exact same error message, there's a good chance it's a K36 clone variant. This is thankfully one of the good clones, although they do also ship with half the RAM. The one on the right has also booted to an error screen, but different from our K36 variant, so this one also has internal flash. Unfortunately, the insert TF card message is a telltale sign of what's known as a fake, specifically a GB350 clone. These don't have any custom operating systems available for them, and you are stuck with what it comes with. You can make it slightly better though, and I have done a fairly detailed video on this not too long ago, which I will link down in the description below if you happen to end up with one of these GB350 clones. There are a few other types of fakes out there, like ones running an older version of Android or a custom build of Buttercera. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these here to show, but more info can be found over on the awesome R36S Wiki, which I will link down in the description below. A little later in this video, we will go through how to check the back of the PCB inside your device to find out exactly what variant you have, and that should help you ID one of these other fakes. The most reliable way to identify your device is going to be by checking the back of your PCB for a version ID. And the new DarkOS RE actually requires this version ID to select the correct files for your specific device. If you have a transparent device, you can usually get away with just carefully taking the battery out and looking through the case. If not, or if you couldn't see anything, then we will need to take the whole back off. The only real risk here is accidentally ripping the battery connector off, but as long as you take your time and are very careful, this shouldn't really be an issue. Also, you can basically completely ignore any stickers that are on the back, since a lot of the clones and fakes still say they are a genuine R36S. The one on the far right, however, does say it's an R36SX, which is a known fake and is actually a GB350 clone, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So we'll start by just checking behind the battery before we end up taking the entire back of the shell off. A lot of these devices just have a simple clip that holds the battery cover in, although I have seen a few variants that don't have a battery cover at all, or instead they are screwed down. Luckily for us though, we can just take the battery cover off. So if you have one of these clip style ones, to take it off, just very carefully lift up the clip with your thumbnail, and the battery case should just come off. Inside should hopefully be your battery. These are usually connected by a very small JST connector at the very top left. I wouldn't recommend trying to pry the battery out with a screwdriver, since if you accidentally pierce it, it will damage the battery and most likely go up in flames if it is fully charged. Instead, I would recommend very carefully tipping it over and giving it a very soft tap. The battery should very carefully come out. As you can see in this clone, they added some double-sided tape, but thankfully they didn't peel it off. If yours is taped in, it's unfortunately going to be a lot harder to get out. And instead, I would recommend keeping the battery in there and taking the entire back off the R36S. But we'll get to that shortly. For now, we just want to very carefully take the battery out. We don't want to pull it too hard, it is still connected, but you should be able to just rest it to the left of the case like this. I'll see if I can focus down a little bit better on the battery compartment. Now with this specific variant, unfortunately there's nothing printed on the PCB under the battery. So in this case, the next step will be to take the entire back off. Now with our next device, it does have R36S-V12-2023-08-18 printed on the PCB right here. This is the exact version ID we were looking for. If you've found the version ID on yours, you don't have to take the full back off. Instead, just make a note of what's written under here. Finally, on our last device, there's also nothing written under the battery compartment. So in this case, we would need to take the entire back off. So to take the back off, all you usually need to do is remove 6 small Phillips head screws using a small Phillips head screwdriver. You don't want to use something too big, since it can damage the outer case. As you can see, there's usually a QC sticker covering up one of the screws, and this will generally void your warranty if there is one. More importantly though, it may make refunding a little bit harder if you do pierce this sticker. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so I have undone all 6 screws, but as you can see, I have left the battery connected. It is obviously safer to remove it, but you must be very careful you don't damage the JST connector. To remove it, you want to pull the small white connector back, sort of towards the bottom of the device. Not up towards you, but down. Try to avoid yanking on the wires directly, since they can separate from the JST connector if you do pull too hard. To remove the battery, I like to use my fingernail. Just get it sort of on top or to the side of the little JST connector, and very gently pull it down. Just like that, it should come off. So with the battery disconnected and removed, we can carefully lift the back of the shell out. I have left the screws in there, but as long as we don't flip it over, it should be fine. One has already pinged out. Let's put it back in. And here's our PCB. So as you can see on this specific device, there's a version ID printed at the very top right. It says R36S-V2.6-0712. That would be the model number we need to look up on the R36S Wiki. To put your device back together, you just do the exact same steps but in reverse. So I've started by putting the back case back on, and then tightening all 6 screws. Next, I'll reinsert the battery. Again, be very careful with it. You don't want to smash anything off the PCB or damage the little JST connector itself. I find lining it up and then pressing it in with my thumbnail seems to do the trick. Perfect. Finally, neatly tuck the battery back in the back of the shell, just like that. Don't press too hard, you don't want to squish the battery. Now with our orange device, we'll remove all 6 screws once again. I will have to pierce the QC sticker. Now with all 6 screws removed, We won't disconnect the battery this time. Instead, I'll show you how you can very carefully take the back off without removing the battery. Again, do this very slowly. You don't want to smash anything. So start by lifting the back half off, and you want to sort of peel it over to the left. I haven't taken the screws out, so they are all going to fall out. That's fine. Just like that. You can see the battery is still connected, and we haven't broken anything. So as you can see on the PCB with this one, there's no printed version ID, but there is a sticker. Now looking the version ID printed on this sticker up isn't going to help you find anything, but over on the R36S Wiki under clones, there's a section for the Emuelec sticker clone. This is exactly what we have here. So if you end up only having a sticker with no version ID printed on the PCB itself, and if you get the no systems found error when powering it up without an SD card inserted, there's a good chance you have one of these clone variants. You might also notice there's only one RAM chip instead of the usual two, and that was pretty common with these type of clones back in the day. This specific one here thankfully does still have the full 1 gig of RAM. Again, putting it back together is the exact same as taking it apart, only in reverse. So start by very carefully putting the back case on. You may need to lift the battery with it if you haven't disconnected it. You sort of want to gently wiggle it until it clicks into place. You don't want to force anything down, and perfect, that feels good. And next you would just reinsert all 6 screws. And with the back screwed back on, you would finally carefully reseat the battery and put the battery cover back on as well. We have our last R36S here, and this is the one that we were able to see the version ID through the back of the battery compartment. So again, if I very carefully shake it out, it is just there. I will, however, take the full back off just to show you what's inside. Again, I'll start by carefully removing the battery, and then take out the 6 screws. And with the 6 screws removed, we can just carefully lift the back of the case off. And this should hopefully give you a better look of the PCB. Again, as mentioned, our version ID is printed down here, R36S-V12-2023-0818. This is a very old original panel 4 device, long before they added the wireless adapter footprint. Also, different to our K36 clone variant, our bright orange one we just saw, there are 2 RAM chips. So once you've found your version ID printed on the PCB, or alternatively, a sticker like we had with our orange K36 clone variant, the next step will be looking it up on the R36S Wiki. We're over on our Windows 11 PC now, and we've just opened up Google Chrome and gone to the awesome R36S Wiki, which as always I will link down in the description below. So this is where we'll be looking up the version ID we found on the back of our R36S. There's 2 main areas you want to check. The first one is R36S Overview. As you can see under the contents, there is a big list of version IDs. This list only contains the non-clones. So if you don't find it in here, then you most likely have a clone. So we have 3 different variants. The first one was the V12-2023-0818. If we tap on that link, yep, there's our PCB that we saw earlier. You can see the image on the left, they even left their battery connected when taking the back off. Unfortunately, our other 2 devices aren't in this list, so next we'll click on R36S clones. And I think we'll search for the R36S 2.6 version ID. If we scroll down a little bit in this list, there it is there, R36S V2.6. Click on it. That does look a little bit different from ours, so we'll keep scrolling down. And here it is here, R36S-V2.6 bracket 0712. That's the exact version ID that was printed on mine. And yep, it even looks the same. Additionally, my device had a sticker on the back of the case that said R36SX. So if we scroll down a little bit more, there's also an entry for that variant. Although it does seem to be using the exact same PCB as the one above. The main difference with mine is they didn't bother populating the mini HDMI port. Finally, our orange device didn't have a version ID printed on the PCB itself, but it did have a small white sticker. You can see in the contents, there is an entry for Emuelec sticker clone. If we click on that, sure enough, it looks exactly the same as ours. Once you've found your device on the R36S Wiki, it should hopefully tell you what operating systems it's compatible with, as well as what DTBs to try. If you can't find your version ID on the R36S Wiki, then it's possible you have a new variant. And the next step will be looking it up on the R36S subreddit using the search feature to see if someone else has any information on it. We've just gone to the R36S subreddit, which I will link down in the description below. From here at the very top, it says search in R36S, and this is where you would type in your PCB version ID. For example, we had the V2.6 brackets 0712. If we search for that, just press enter. Yep, there are a bunch of results. If we click on the first one, it has 13 comments from 3 months ago, and it is the exact same PCB variant that we have. Hopefully, you have been able to successfully verify your R36S variant. So now you've identified your device, what's next? These days, good clones are generally worth keeping as long as you didn't pay too much. But if you ended up getting a bad clone with half the RAM, or just a fake, you should hopefully be able to get a refund. If instead you ended up getting an original or a good clone, from here you should hopefully have everything you need to get your choice of operating system installed and working on your device. I have made videos on pretty much every OS available for both non-clones and clones, but I will link full install videos for the main ones, ArcOS and ArcOS for clones, as well as DarkOS and DarkOS RE down below. If you are not sure which OS is best for you, I have also made a short video going through the pros and cons of each, which I will also link down in the description below. To save you the click, it's basically down to personal preference, but they do definitely each have enough pros and cons to make things a little bit tricky. But I think that'll do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.